Hello and welcome to Zada, your source for Middle East topics from reliable sources. My name is Naska Zada. Here at Zada, everyone is welcome, no matter your religion, nationality, or political affiliation. We sift through the fake news to find true stories you want to hear about from sources you can trust. To join in on the conversation, please reach out via email, Facebook, and Twitter. My guest today is author of Tragic Illusion of an Islamic State and also author of The Jew is Not My Enemy. Also follow at Middle East Forum, columnist at Toronto Sun. Mr. Tariq Fatah, welcome.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. We're going to talk about your books. Obviously, they're very important. A Tragic Illusion of an Islamic State. Tell us a little bit about that one, and then we're going to go to the other book, which I'm very much interested in.
Well, you see, going back straight to the day the Prophet of Islam, Prophet Muhammad, died, the fight has been between two aspects of Islam. One is the state of Islam within oneself, and the other is an Islamic state, in which people who claim to have an expertise in the orthodoxy of Islam would like to create nation states based on Arab superiority over the non-Arab Muslim, and subsequently the invasion of Iran, Egypt, India, Central Asia, right up to Spain and southern Italy and Morocco. And these were the Umayyads. And they formed the caliphates, they wrote the Sharia, and they established, right from the day Prophet Muhammad died, the so-called Islamic State. And within 90 years, they collapsed and they literally, the entire caliphate, the Umayyad Caliphate, was slaughtered in Damascus in the year 750. And then a new set of Muslims came for an Islamic state. And throughout the 1400 years, Muslims have been slaughtering fellow Muslims to establish an Islamic state. And my book lays out, it's a work of about 10 years that I have committed, that the complete evil nature of anyone trying to establish a nation state in modernity where Islam is the joining factor. And the first one of these many Islamic states, including al-Baghdadi's Islamic State, is the Islamic State of Pakistan in 1947. Within 2 years of the Holocaust, we managed to kill 1 million people in a 100 square mile area by saying that a Muslim cannot and should never live in a country where non-Muslims are a majority. And then you see the same mullahs, the same radicals lining up for an American visa or wanting to go to Sweden or good old Canada, and they find no contradiction. Therefore, I thought this book was necessary to expose through Islamic literature the very fraudulent concept of an Islamic state.
Yes. And you mentioned Pakistan, your origin country, and now you live in Canada, obviously. But Pakistan going through so much problems. They have issues with India, Pakistan issues, and you have Afghanistan, Pakistan issues. What do you think the best solution for what's going on in Pakistan right now?
You see, it's an artificial state. There is no country on earth which is an acronym. You know, like Pakistan is no word. Pakistan is putting together the words Punjab, Afghanistan, Balochistan, Sindh, put them in a box, shake them up, and then create whatever comes out of it. You have to understand that Pakistan came as the first Islamic state, and within 25 years committed genocide on its own people by killing 3 million people in what is now called Bangladesh. In a genocide of 10 months, they killed 3 million people. And once they were defeated in the 71 war and the UN intervened, there were 200,000 women that they had raped who were pregnant. And the first abortion clinics anywhere in the world were established there to save the young girls who had been raped by Pakistani soldiers. They were Muslim and they were raping Muslim women. Why? Because the Muslim women of Bangladesh were darker skinned than the supposedly fair, tall Punjabi Muslims are. So in studying Pakistan, one gets the notion, a clear idea. This is a complete fraudulent concept. The nation state is based on common language, common culture, common cuisine. You could be a Yazidi Kurd, or you could be a Christian Kurd, or a Muslim Kurd, or even an atheist, right? But you would have a certain history going back to ancient times. Similarly, the Chinese have a history, the Indians have a history, the Russians have a history. There is no such history of Pakistan. It was never a country. The Indus River is where the ancient Mohenjo-daro, the Sindh civilization, the Indian civilization was born. And today, if you meet a Pakistani and you say, are you of Indian origin? They are horrified. And they're trying to act as if they came with some Central Asian conqueror like Temur Lane or Ghazni or some Arab invader. And they genuinely try to deny their own mother's heritage. Such people are dangerous because they have nothing in common with common humanity, and therefore Pakistan is the #1 source of international terrorism.
So you, because India agrees with you and also Afghanistan agrees with you that they are the sources of terrorism in the region. So if somebody asks you, you're from Pakistan, so where do you say you're from when somebody asks you, where are you from?
I'm an Indian born in Pakistan.
Okay. So we're going to move to a different subject, but it's still a sensitive subject. Your title of your other book, The Jew is Not My Enemy. As you know, Palestinian-Israeli conflict been going on for many, many years. So why did you choose this title?
I chose it because I lived in Saudi Arabia for 10 years, and I lived in Medina a long time, and I researched many of these areas where people claim as to 100 years after the death of Prophet Muhammad, they come up with the stories of who killed whom, and I wanted to have some scientific basis. If Muhammad was slaughtering 700 Jewish men in one day, I would just want to know where the graveyard is. Mm-hmm. What happened to their bones? There have been excavations in that area. I went looking for Jewish sources because the Jewish people have suffered so much. Every time they have been butchered, the least they could do, they have written about their tragedies. At no place is any Jewish reference to what happened in Medina. This was cooked up by later caliphates who, when they wanted to kill Jews, they would say, well, Prophet Muhammad killed Jews, therefore I'm allowed to kill Jews. So the book is about unfortunately, the Jews do not understand that Christian anti-Semitism is not the same as Muslim-Jew hatred. And because we think that anti-Semitism and its European nature, we think that everybody else who unfortunately has a problem with Jews would be the same way. Muslim hatred of Jews comes from people who translate the Quran from its page 1, where page 1 of the Quran says, "O God, show us the straight path, not the path of those who you dislike." They will not say it to you directly when the camera is on or when the mic is on, but when they are addressing a congregation and somebody asks, well, who is God talking about? They will say, brother, you know, God is talking about the Jews. And those who are led astray, the Christians. So if on page 1 of the Quran, a Muslim child is being told to hate the Jew because God disparages Jews, what do you expect that young boy to grow up as? That is why illiterate Muslims are never extremists. You will notice there is no working class factory guy who says, I'm going to be a terrorist. No, it's always the educated.
It's always
Western
the
educated.
educated. Yes.
Always the
Well,
educated.
the masterminds, they're educated, and then you have the followers, they're uneducated
No,
mostly.
the followers are not uneducated. There is no uneducated, illiterate terrorist anywhere in the world.
And it sounds like you have a research on that.
You come, well, in any case, 70% of Muslims can't read or write.
Mm-hmm.
So let's keep 70% out of the game. They
Let's
have
keep
no
them.
clue.
And
They
obviously, the main one it comes to mind is Osama bin Laden, how educated he was, and Western societies were surprised to find out.
He used to wear bell bottoms in Sweden.
Mm-hmm.
He was a swinger. He was a party animal. How can a Bin Laden guy who's done engineering count himself as a illiterate person? No. You Muslim Brotherhood. Look at al-Baghdadi. He's a PhD, for crying out loud.
Mm-hmm.
Mullah Umar. Oh, you name the terrorist and the guy will be an American educated. Who was the guy of Al-Qaeda in Yemen? He was an American born.
Educated.
Avlaki.
Mm-hmm.
What about Hillary Clinton's chief of staff? Huma Abedin, who was at the Muslim Students Association.
Yes.
18 years of education in Saudi Arabia. Most suave, modern looking, not even a hijab on her head. She was radicalized in university and her family. Her parents didn't let her go to school in America because, girls go bad in America. So sent her to Saudi Arabia. If you are an American citizen and your parents send you to Saudi Arabia to get enlightened, there's something seriously wrong in between the skull and the membranes. There's nothing good.
Let's move on to Trump, your favorite topic these days.
This is the year of the entertainment business.
The year of entertainment for a lot of people. Middle East and East Asia, North Africa, didn't see a lot of change during that year. Especially they were expecting Trump going to have some kind of stand and some policies toward those countries. Your thoughts?
Okay, you see, the United States of America has become a place where people are not loyal to their country. They are loyal to the corporation they work for. So they're not even a people, like the Russians are a people, the Germans are a people.
And Americans, no.
I'm serious. You buy any American at the right price. Just day before yesterday, Hillary Clinton and John Kerry were dancing on a stage because an Indian billionaire made them do that. You think this is two former secretaries of state, two former presidential candidates? You're talking about Donald Trump? Hillary Clinton was doing a stupid dance on a stage within Bollywood stars. My tweet was, is there any American left that cannot be bought or sold on the market?
Well, there are some, but,
Maybe Senator Sanders.
Politicians, it's hard. It's hard
No,
to...
No, in politicians also. The place, I think you're from Oregon, that you're doing...
Right now, yes.
Senator, Congressman Ro Khanna, wonderful guy. Your congresswoman from Honolulu. There are wonderful people there, but they are not connected in that dumb top in which a senator would ask the Google chief, my iPhone is not working. To be told, Google doesn't make iPhones. If your senators and congressmen don't know that iPhone is not made by Google, then what are you expecting from a country? Because everyone wants the private sector to run their affairs. Once you have that, you will not have a country.
Well, if you don't have that, then you have socialism. What's the alternative? Are you happy with the Canadian political system?
We could have a school in Canada where we could teach all Americans ethics and dignity, where people do not die simply because they are sick or don't have to sell their homes. We don't have homeless people on our streets, whether it is the government paying for it or whether charity does it. There is no place. People at very high levels of salary, we go out, volunteer in the winter, in the morning, to feed breakfast to the poor. That's because our religious right was on the left. The person who brought Medicare to this country was from Saskatchewan, Tommy Douglas, who was a Christian, sort of a pastor. So our tradition, our sample in Canada of what you would call social democracy is there in Germany, is there in Britain, is there in Spain, in Portugal. No matter where you go, universities are free. In the United States, you have to take a debt to such a degree.
Oh, I'm still paying off my, I haven't paid off my debt.
My daughter is not going to pay. What is wrong in having education, access to education at the lowest possible cost? Why should I make profit out of your education?
Well, that sounds really a good idea, but I think the theme of the program was Middle East and terrorism.
Really?
We have to come back here. I want to talk about journalists, and you're a journalist, and freedom of expression. You saw what happened to Mr. Jamal Khashoggi. I met him a couple times.
There's so many. There's so many.
And I want to ask you about that because I was talking to some journalists in Egypt, Lebanon, and also Iraq, and they were surprised by the West's reaction to his death. They are like, journalists get killed every day in this, those countries. So they were like, were you surprised by Western's reaction? How it became political debate?
No, it became a political debate because of how he was killed. Because he was killed at the command of the leader of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. This is not, of course we are used to it. Saddam Hussein picked up 20 journalists from a meeting he was having and had them shot dead. We know that. We know what happened under Nasser. We know what would happen under Ikhwan al-Muslimin, Muslim Brotherhood. The Khashoggi's case is unique because, after all, the Washington Post is one of those papers that stands for credibility. Both the New York Times and the Washington Post are probably the newspapers that are shining lights, which do reporting, whose journalists are very brave. And because Khashoggi was writing for them, therefore he had his own image, and he was very critical of the Saudi regime. It's not that he was a very innocent person. He too was with the Muslim Brotherhood. So politically, I would have nothing to do with him. But as a profession, the ruthlessness with which he was killed is what shocked the whole world.
Yes. What's his connection with Muslim Brotherhood? Do we know? Because I hear that a lot, and I got a couple messages from Facebook. I was posting about the way he was killed, and then they were upset that I'm paying attention to his death because he was part of Muslim Brotherhood.
So, look, I am against the Muslim Brotherhood, but I will defend the right of the Muslim Brotherhood to participate in an election. The way they were thrown out in Egypt, as...
It was undemocratic, was it?
Yeah, of course it was undemocratic. So you can't be democratic just for yourself.
That's what happened in Egypt, though.
The test of democracy is when you stand up for your enemy. I should stand up for a principle. There's a saying in my language, they say, we all hug our friends. The trick is how to hug your enemy. Because what are we differing? We are differing over principles, our ideas of the future. We can't differ, oh, God sent me a flying horse, and now my God sent me a monkey, and therefore a snake is talking. We can't have that discourse that we had 500 years ago, even today. We cannot have an Islamic state or a Hindu state or a Christian state. We have people. The Jewish state is the exception because it is about people. It is not about religion. Nobody has a problem with Judaism. Nobody even knows what is Judaism. People hate Jews, and to say that the Jews do not belong to Israel is a lie, because they have been there for thousands of years. And even as a Muslim, the Quran is very explicit. It says this land is for the Jews. It's verse 52.
Well, you have to be fair, though. How about those Palestinians living in the area for generations and generations, but all suddenly they have to leave and they are harassed?
No. In 1948, the partition of Arab Palestine was conducted. Jerusalem was a neutral UN governed area with no country having power over it. Israel, the Jewish state of Palestine at that time, by the way, at that time the word Palestine meant Jews, Jewish Palestine. The Arabs didn't use the word Palestine. That came about after 1967. In that partition, Israel accepted the partition. 14 Arab countries attacked it and lost the war. Now, tell me something. In the last 20 years since Oslo, if Hamas is going to kill PLO fighters in Gaza, who is Israel going to talk to?
Well, it's obvious they're not united, but also there's...
The Arabs have never given freedom to the Kurds. An Arab country occupies Western Sahara. Nobody talks. An Arab country occupies Darfur. No problem. Iraq, Turkey, Pakistan, Afghanistan. People occupy Balochistan. Nobody wants to say a word. Indonesia, the biggest Islamic country on earth, occupies West Papua. Now, either we have a principle that says an occupation is an occupation and should be ended. If that is to happen, then Turkey should get out of Kurdistan, as should Iraq, as should Iran, and as should Syria. But no, we want to occupy and have the right to occupy non-Muslim countries, bring war to India, kill Bangladeshis, have a genocide in Darfur, but alhamdulillah, on Gaza, we will be one. No, I'll be with Gazan once the people who killed the Palestinian Authority soldiers are brought to justice and hanged. No, I don't believe in the death penalty. They should just rot in jail for the rest of the years. But Arabs have killed more Arabs than Israel can ever kill Arabs. And that truth should be recognized.
And also it's true in the war against terrorism, terrorists killed more Muslims than anyone else. But it's something not paid attention to or focused on for some reason.
Because I think the West is blind. They like to go to football games. They like, go Blue Jays, go, It's a bizarre country. I can't even understand. We have gladiator sports that consume the interests of all Americans. If you ask them that in Syria, the United States backed Saudi Arabia to throw out the dictator there. 500,000 people have died and nothing has happened. Obama said, this is a red line. They crossed it. Then he said, this is a yellow line. There's a pink line. What is this? This is no way to conduct affairs. What did we accomplish by overthrowing Gaddafi?
Okay, I'm going to go to last topic. I think that's the most favorite topic.
Okay.
Are you anti-Sharia?
Absolutely. Sharia? What is Sharia? First thing first, you have to ask this question to anyone when this discussion happens. Do you believe in polygamy or not? If he says yes, or if she says yes, that person is not fit for the 21st century. Reverse the digits and send them back to the 12th, where they came from. If there's a person on earth who believes that man can have 2, 3, 4 wives and concubines and slaves, and you want Sharia in America? They wanted it in Canada.
Well, I was not just talking about America. You have Saudi Arabia, you have Iraq. I was just watching a report on Iraqi television. They talked about how much Sharia in Iraqi laws. and how much they
Okay?
suffer because of that.
Let me invoke Sharia to inform these Arab, Pakistani, Indonesian, wherever these idiots come from, and Erdogan's Turkey as well. Inshallah, they will rot in hell by Sharia law for having inflicted that pain on little children. I can show you a picture today from Pakistan of a 10-year-old boy in military fatigues with an AK-47 saying Allahu Akbar and marching, leading the march.
I saw that tweet from you, actually.
Well, for goodness sake, if one is serious about being pious and believes in Sharia, let him face me anywhere, anytime, and I will shred them to tiny little pieces so they can swallow it up and hope for redemption for having inflicted so much pain. Can you imagine they've kept a Christian woman on death row in Pakistan for 9 years for simply drinking water in a glass that was meant only for Muslims? And Britain rejected her asylum because the Prime Minister was afraid that the Muslims of Britain will get offended? What Sharia are we talking?
We never got, and I think Sharia, its own program. We have to talk about Sharia in like an hour at least.
Things chopped off?
But we didn't.
FDM? This is all Sharia.
Yes, we didn't talk about a lot of other important topics, the mainstream media and the bias against liberals, how they report it these days, and Republicans and all of that good stuff. Maybe we can talk again sometime soon.
Against what, sorry?
Maybe we can talk again sometime soon.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
You can have a whole Sharia exclusive.
Sharia show.
Absolutely. And we will tell how to cut hands. I will bring you the laws of how to cut the nose out, how to chop it, and how to burn faces. It's all there, detailed. How to treat donkeys, how to treat, it's ridiculous. I got tons, all these books are on Sharia.
I will bring you and also bring a religious figure so they can
Please do.
argue. That would be a good debate.
Absolutely.
Tariq Fatah, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Tema. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank
Good
you.
evening. Good night.
And thank you so much for watching. This is Zada and hope to connect with you via email, Facebook, or Twitter. Hope to see you soon. Thank you.